Hi, today's date, February 24, 2022, the time going on close to 3 p.m. I'm on the Coney Island boardwalk and I'm trying to pretty much start a civil lawsuit against the U.S. government for negligence. Today is like 2 days after my birthday on February 22nd, 2022. And pretty much I would like to start a lawsuit before the ending of February. It's been a while, all going on close to 22 years since these judges robbed me, my house under void sale, void deed, and tried to cover up for their willful reckless violation with the bank, the court, the judges, Department of Justice, more so on the bankruptcy discrimination or section 362, 1301 or 5010 of the bankruptcy rule under 11 U.S.C. bankruptcy code. On September 22nd, 2000, the Human Rights Commissioner been telling me try to draw a bankruptcy to stop beneficial mortgage from robbing me my equity in my home based upon evidence package that I had showed him. Pretty much I was leather baked in my house, and after a near 1.5 to 2 years or before of completing the lead abatement, beneficial mortgage would have solicited a whole lot to try to refinance me, even as I did have another acquisition or closing with another bank on an REO property that I had bid with several real estate investors, bigger bidder than myself. 3 different times the bank in question who was selling the REO property would have asked 3 of us to rebid to see who would win the third winning bid, as they did turn down the first 2. So my equity at 107-23 Union Hall Street, Jamaica, New York 11433, home-based business under lead abatement with lead poisoning, could have more than satisfied closing with another mixed-use property close by, a near block away from my home-based residence at Union Hall Street, that the judges them stole on a void sale, void deed foreclosure. I have on my mask. I'm like breathing hard as I'm treading or walking the boardwalk to get somewhere, but I say, why not take out my tape and do pretty much another video to upload over to YouTube to publish further with this upcoming lawsuit that I'm gonna exercise my right under with the Department of Justice, government negligence with the judges and the court system, and so on, because they try to cover up all these lies with a fraudulent fraud upon the court system while robbing my house under unjust enrichment with a case of harassment to force evict me. The first Judge Cat, had it, and I told her it was void. Also a case of harassment. She set it aside. She asked the housing court, Queen Civil Housing Court attorney, to call up the bankruptcy court attorney to find out if I was in the right. They try to make it look more or less like the case also was about just a void sale, void deed, foreclosure, eviction, garnishment, etc., and the further bankruptcy discrimination. Because I want to know more so, and I question this so ever often, as I did try to ask for a discharge, because Judge Cat did dismiss the case of harassment when the two lawyers came to a conclusion, but they came to a conclusion as if it was just a stay on the bankruptcy rule 362, 1301 or 5010, the game these judges play under their portfolio or accountability with crimes. Themselves is a criminal as far as I see this whole ordeal saga. The judge, as I said, Judge Cat did dismiss it, but calling it up back, she dismissed it around April 20, 2001. But when I asked her, as she was warning Robert M. Tully, the lawyer for Plaza Home LLC, who brought this fraud upon the court with a fraudulent void sale, void deed, foreclosure, further fraud, to evict me or harass me or do their willful reckless violation with fraud upon the court. It's 1 to 1. The judge stopped harassing me over my house. It's 2. I furthermore asked her to put it in writing because I didn't come to sue. And I don't want her to call it back. When she said, case is dismissed, and warned the lawyer, how dare you bring this lady into court harassing her over her house. Something that I told her pretty much is a case of harassment, fraud, void sale, void deed, foreclosure, or willful reckless violation. She wouldn't put nothing in writing. However, for me, she just said, lady, you won your case. Go home and stop bothering me. Didn't you hear me warn the lawyer to stop harassing you over your house because you ever stayed? It wasn't just about the stay. That's what I'm trying to re-emphasize under this crooked judge. But a month later, surprisingly, she would have called it back and want to say she remembered this case and As far as she's concerned, as I try to tell her, I did remember it with everything I just said on tape. Seeing I'm taping it. She would further conclude, well, bankruptcy court did call her and said it was an error. So you see how they play their game. It's a full played game by corrupted judge who actually don't need one paycheck or so to retire while they committing such atrocity to violate people's human rights, civil rights, under such deprivation with fraud in general. So she dare tell me I'm in her court and this is her court, and as far as she knows, she remember the case where the bankruptcy court did call it back and said it was an error. You see, error and mistake on the creditors, as I sometimes point it out on other YouTube public video and others. The most mistake creditors make under the same section 362, 1301 or 5010 to try and overlook these criminality or crime or fraud upon the court that they do into others. Well, this is why really and truly I'm gonna sue the United States government, because they get to retire a lot of these crooked ass judges and prosecutor, as they known as prosecutor also, or law judge. They're not following their own law, as they would also willfully, recklessly want to violate us with deprivation of a house or having a business or anything we plan to work hard to ascertain through our career that so forth give us income. At the time they was harassing me over my house, I was getting $3,000 monthly for rent. I will say it again, I was getting income from the house also, renting it as a bed and breakfast. I would ask Loot newspaper on average to pretty much help me to advertise it so that if tourists do come and can afford a hotel room, I could easily rent any given tourist any given time with a near 3 more room that I built into the house for extra income while doing lead abatement and others to turn the ship around. You see, I'm unsinkable. I don't let nothing stop me, not even judges who stole my house, much less want to commit a 22-year fraud upon the court with bankruptcy discrimination, because the bankruptcy judge themselves acting like they didn't know there was a foreclosure. That's what 5010 called for, pretty much too. What they overlooked from the very start. Willful, reckless violation in continuing the foreclosure. Sorry if I'm breathing this hard while walking and taping, because this coronavirus situation, and we still have to wear our mask at any given time, etc. But that's the most mistake creditors will make, to try to play games with our life. More so. Once more, I said they get to retire with bribery, corruption, destruction, such a atrocity of stealing other people retirement fund, income, home, you name it. As I say, anything that gives me income from a home was still part of my income that I would bank daily, weekly, monthly to say, let me make a track record of me getting income from the house to Astoria Bank on Hillside Avenue, Jamaica, New York. So ever often the cashier would ask me at the bank, why I keep putting these demo in the deposit slip, rental income. I said, don't ask me that, do your job. You never know. Something may arrive and I want to prove with the evidence package where such money or income might be coming from. I didn't file a chapter 13 to get rid of the house. I filed it to protect my entire asset. The house, my home-based business, the rental property that I was using with that house and home-based business. And if you multiply 3,000 monthly plus by 22 years up to this day, 12 months in a year, just as much, you will see that alone could help me retire on. Not that alone, however. I was trying to protect my equity in the home. Because the equity in the home is like a cash register too. It could have used to send to my my kids to school more than depriving them life and liberty and freedom and education, or a home to keep over their a roof over their head. The equity in the home could have closed that mixed-use property that I was talking about. Because these kids suffer lead poisoning, they also end up suffering trauma and drama from this whole saga that the judge endanger our life under. Thinking when they throw us out of a house with a case of harassment, bankruptcy discrimination, housing discrimination, and all other form of negligent and professional negligence with fraud upon the court. They think it nice, knowing we live with it for 22 years as they capitalize off our blood, flesh and tears. Well, this is something more so that stays on our my credit report for the next 21, 25 to 33 years, even though they succeed with fraud upon the court to have stolen my house, home-based business, income, equity, and much, much more. Because when somebody files a bankruptcy to protect their equity, they think it's a joke. My equity alone could have make we retire on. You know, I could have been a multi-millionaire up to this day with many other houses under my belt. Because that was my goal. Protect the home with the equity, with the chapter 13, and make it pay for any bad debt, pay out for itself over the next 5 years with the organization plan that Judge Carla Crane did set. And although pay in advance has a touch on that, for 2 months straight out of the bankruptcy plan that Carla E. Crane, the chief judge, did approve as the trustee, and she tried to commit fraud upon the court further to have dismissed everything after they approve it, like they didn't know the bank was violating me 1 hour into my first bankruptcy with such plan. Even though a second lawyer did file a second bankruptcy by refusing me to reopen my first bankruptcy case. He's telling me it's best to file a second. And I'm telling him it's best to reopen. So I don't know what he was thinking, but I was right while he was wrong. The most I can say, him just like the first lawyer, took my money, did nothing much, and run. They themselves capitalize of the embezzlement with what was going down in the general court, because they just couldn't handle the pressure, even though I hired them to do the right thing, and they was pretty much involved in the fraud that took place with the judges them from one court to another, the bank and Wall Street and all other investors, Plaza Home LLC, lawyer Robert M. Toller for Plaza Home LLC. He need to go to jail. So when I'm ready to line up that lawsuit, everything I'm talking about, I will be including professional negligence with government, these judges, prosecutor, Department of Justice, the CIA and all others who must sometimes see the truth in the case, other than Department of Justice, but try to cover up all these wrongful security fraud. Fraud is a breach. It was all a breach against me and my children. Even my children, them I'm going to name in the lawsuit. Whether they sign or don't sign. They can always sign future if I don't see them in time to sign. Or they don't come in time to sign to be a part of the lawsuit. But I'm going to tell the judge they themselves did have trauma from the saga with fraud upon the court, where judges in general with the court system is stealing a lot of people's house from under them with their home equity, their roof up, their roof over their head, or all the general thing that could have us retire with the equity or educate ourselves more than destroying us. You know how 22 years feel with the type of crime or atrocity and whatever they cause, these willful reckless endangerment, imminent violation. Even if I appeal one judge, one court after another, they try to cover up these crimes like it never did took place on the Freedom of Information Act. That's what the lawsuit is going to be about too. Freedom of Information Act and deprivation, and how they caused me and my kids to be sick of such deprivation throughout 21 years to 22 years going, much less on the Freedom of Information Act. These things stays on our credit report, violating us even though they stole our house. It's not right. So for now, I'm going to cut from part 1 maybe into part 2 to upload this over YouTube, publish it, even as I'm about to drop the lawsuit against the U.S. government for further negligence, fraud, etc., etc. More so on the Freedom of Information Act and government negligence and all others. Cut tape and edit for now. I could go on and on because there's so much damages and injury they did to us with all these crime and atrocity that they so cover up each other as with judges covering up crime for other judges, even in appeal, even with mistake and error, even with willful reckless violation to rob my house. This is Rob Bramore. This is strictly war as you see it.